and welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and insurtech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East. I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to accelerate their go-to-market propositions, digital marketing, and digital transformation initiatives.
And hi, I'm Ranjit Philip. I'm an angel investor and I advise and work with startups. These days, I'm working on setting up the Middle East business of a cyber insurtech company called Box Insurance.
Hey, Ranjit, who are we meeting today?
So we are very fortunate to be meeting Roopa Malhotra, head of customer and digital Asia Pacific region from Zurich Insurance. Roopa started a career from the capital markets and reinsurance side, which is kind of unconventional for many of us, and then worked in the insurance majors like AIG and Chubb. In Chubb, Roopa was the head of digital for Asia Pacific in her last role.
Awesome. Ranjit, I found the whole conversation quite interesting. It also felt very similar to our region as well, but there were also lots of parts which was quite unique to that region. And there's a lot of learnings for us here in the Middle East. I particularly found the whole regulatory piece being one of the strongest, if not the strongest factor that decides innovation in a country, even in a APAC region. It shows no matter how good your idea is, you need to have conducive environment. And she was talking about how some countries you get innovation speed going 10x, and then you've got just another neighboring country where they struggle to even get a product approved in months. Yeah. So I think for the Middle East region, we are blessed. We're doing some really good strides from a regulatory perspective. I think insurers need to do a lot more from customer centricity to really use that sort of environment, the regulatory environment that we've got, and create true innovation. Rajit, how about you?
No, I think you're right. I agreed that we had a very interesting conversation, and some of the few things that stood out for me was on the corporate venture capital side, and how it's really about investing in them and giving them the distribution powers of an incumbent like Zurich, which usually insurtechs struggle with. The innovation, they get it right, but distribution is not there. So how can CVC be used to grant that distribution? Then I think another interesting stuff about her personal approach to getting into this digital transformation role was really about, understanding the people, understanding the landscape, and the as-is capability of the organization before starting to come in and say, hey, this is a change. This is how I want you to change. That's one surefire way to get rejected by your new organization, right? So I think she's doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
And obviously, she also spoke about the trends that she's seeing in Asia about embedded insurance and why, omni-channel is here to stay. It's not just fully digital. Agents and brokers are not going away. And that seems to be a kind of common theme across the diverse markets in Asia.
Yeah, fascinating.
A very interesting conversation, right?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to FS Brew. We are meeting Roopa Malhotra, Head of Customer and Digital Asia Pacific from Zurich Insurance. Roopa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a question that we ask all our guests. How did you get into the exciting world of insurance? And can you also please tell us a little bit about your role at Zurich?
Sure. I think it's a cliche answer to begin with that I didn't plan my career to be in insurance, but and I think it's a topic for another discussion, that why insurance is not on the minds of young minds when they're thinking of their career, but that's for later. But for myself, back to your question, I actually started my journey in an American hedge fund. I did my MBA. And then I started there. And when I just started with them, they had formed their new team on looking at catastrophe related alternative bonds and future contracts. So this was this new team which was formed, and they were looking at even retrocession, which is reinsuring the reinsurer. So that's almost an alternate to reinsurance market. was their strategy. So it was very new for me, fresh out of grad school as well. So it was a lot around. That was almost like a very, very high level introduction to insurance, very far away from what I do now or the realities of day-to-day insurance. But I spent the next couple of years looking into cat bonds, industry loss warranties, and a lot of future contracts on cat. That was the initial part. Then I kind of moved to Singapore. And then I joined actually the research and cat modeling team for Zurich Group, MSIG. And that was interestingly in Singapore, but they were actually supporting their Bermuda-based reinsurance arm. So again, I got involved a lot into cat pricing, portfolio modeling. So that was almost half of my career in insurance. Right. And then I moved to AIG. That was almost, I feel, my first foray into proper understanding the proper nitty-gritties of insurance. Quite a bit of a change from macro level to micro. I think over the course of my career, I thought I wanted to kind of pivot a bit more into business side, look at some other aspects of insurance. That's when I was with Chubb, I kind of pivoted into this new team that was forming on digital. And I kind of forayed into digital product development. Again, I don't come from a digital background or tech background. So it was interesting. I didn't have much knowledge about consumer product at that point in time. So it was a total 360-degree shift for me. But did that. And then yes, I think during COVID, as I think everyone was rethinking about what to do with their life in general. I was actually planning to take a break as well. But the Zurich role came about and I found it quite interesting. I've always liked building things and looking at solutions. And I felt where Zurich was and where the management was thinking from the strategy point of view, it fitted well in terms of how I wanted to probably start the new team on digital. So I kind of jumped the gun and started the role at Zurich.
Perfect. Very good.
Excellent. So you, as you mentioned, you recently sort of joined Zurich from Chubb. Now, at the level that you play, how do you go about picking the role? And can you speak about, the journey and the process that you go through when you do such a shift? And, it can really be helpful for leaders looking to do the same in other companies.
Yeah, I think it was, as I said, I think it was an interesting phase for me. I was as such thinking of, thinking of taking a total break for some time to rethink. But having said that, I think for me, I think on the face of it, the two roles sounds very similar. Both are around digital. I think for me, it was more of a personal thing around, I like building things. I think lucky enough, I think the journey in Chubb had been great. We had come to a point where the model was working. We were now at a phase of scaling it. And I felt that's probably a point where it's for me time to look for a new challenge. And when I kind of think about that, when the Zurich role came about, it kind of fitted well to the kind of challenge I was looking for. Also, I think I was looking for, culturally, I felt it were two different organizations just on the face of it. And I felt like not one better than the other. It's just a change of culture. So far, I thought, let's kind of definitely try for it. And I think the third aspect was this role had another element on customer experience, which is something I had not done before. So it was a good combination of leveraging my skill set of building something from scratch. And then two, there's this new element of culture and new extra additional portfolio of customer experience. So it kind of felt a good enough challenge for me to take on the new.
Very good. I think that's pretty good, and it sounds very exciting. And the region is also pretty wide and exciting as well.
Absolutely.
It seems to be like a role-based kind of a podcast. But you're very curious to know what your first few months are kind of looking like in terms of strategic priorities. We always read that the book about the first 100 days and how to shape your kind of first 100 days. And what do you think your key focus areas are in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I didn't read any of those books, but I should have, because I think the first 2 months I was clueless what's happening around me, because I'd forgotten what it means to change a organization from coming from a place of knowing everyone and the ways of doing things to a new place. So I think I was overwhelmed with that change. Once I settled in, I think the very first thing in my mind was to really understand the organization and where things are as of today and where the thinking is. Because if you don't understand where today is, you can't really start to think about. Of course, I have a view around where I want things to be, but it needs to be aligned to where people are today. And I think so that's one. I've spent a lot of first few weeks and even kind of continuing that. I think for the rest of the year will be to ensuring I understand the business very well, the model, what has been the reason for their current success and where the gaps have been. Having said that, I think the strategic focus for me right now is on a couple of things. Very broadly, one is building a team. It's relatively new function. So in the region and in some local markets, what kind of talent we need. I think that's half the battle won if you get the right people. So that's something that I'm spending quite a bit of time to kind of focus on, whether again it's between hiring or getting people internally. Regardless of that, it's about building the right team. The second thing is aligned to our own goals around distribution, what capabilities we need. So we are looking at our digital platform capability. And again, I think so having the right architecture in place that is fit for future, not for today. So yeah, say those are very, very, very high level 2 top priorities for me at the moment on getting the team and getting the view on our capability right.
Understood.
Right. So Roopa, the market that you handle, Asia, is such a dynamic, sort of a market. This obviously consists of so many large and really distinct sort of countries, each with its own uniqueness around it. Some are advanced when it comes to digital transformation and some are doing catch up. How do you go about designing the whole transformation agenda for each of this country? And can you talk us through how do you, do that from a market maturity point of view as well?
Yeah, no, you're spot on, right? Asia is diverse. The dynamics is diverse. The regulatory landscape is also very different. With some regulators being more open, like the likes of Singapore, where it's relatively easier. The government wants to experiment and is proactive, versus some other countries where even getting a simple product change is, forget about any other thing, can take months. So on paper, it's fine to have a strategy, but to execute is another. So, but I think having said that, I think there's two things. There's some underlying similarities in the market that we see around, in general, digital customer behavior and digital adoption. So you see digital payment being a common theme across all markets. Now, yes, they have a bit of a variance around which players. They can be pretty localized, but their strategies are more or less, they're also looking at each other. So those underlying themes, which has an impact on digital adoption for insurance, are similar. So I think one way definitely is to identify those common themes. You see the trends of super apps in a lot of markets. As I said, digital payment is another. Digital banking is another key common theme that's happening across all markets. Now, yes, the maturity are a bit different, but what's that giving us as insurance is a view on where do we have to think about our model for fit for purpose for digital transformation. Of course, what we then do is overlay which should be a priority market first, just because maturity wise it's more ready, or for us to actually go out and experiment, it makes more sense to do this market first, because we can be faster in doing it. But I do see kind of catching up on those common themes as the way to start thinking for a scale point of view.
Right. Maybe just a quick follow-up on that. Does the presence of insurtechs or competition make any change your view in terms of that market maturity?
Yes, definitely. I think a bit of a yes and no. I think where even insurtechs are going is where you have some regulatory leeway. I think regulation plays, it has a big impact. So they tend to do that as well as their first foray, where capital investment will come. So what happens is, I think insurer or insurtechs are following where capital market or fintech is going. You see fintechs coming in first and then insurtechs coming in next is a common kind of a thread as well in those markets. And then insurance comes in because digital as a whole is evolving a lot around distribution models. And so where you see digital disruption happening, like the likes of Indonesia, there's so much capital. Now Vietnam is following the model. So you see those trends. But yeah, I think they kind of almost go in parallel. But there will be markets where you would otherwise feel that there should be insurtechs and insurers coming in. Is not happening because of just the environment right now is not ready.
Yeah. Thank you. Just a question on sort of Middle East, and I just want to compare and contrast from your point of view. We are seeing, I think, definitely a little bit behind compared to Asia and the rest of the world, but we are quickly seeing investment in, let's say, the basics of business agility, like cloud adoption, beginnings of the birth of, let's say, an insurtech 2.0 kind of companies. We obviously had a number of aggregators for a number of years, with a focus on, motor, health, the usual staples. What are sort of industry trends you're seeing in APAC from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think the most common, I think, what we hear a lot right now is around embedding. I think that has taken a big wave in Asia, as well as I'm sure that will probably pick up in Middle East as well. And I think there's reasons for it, as I was saying, that with more digital adoption coming in general from customer point of view and new ecosystem players coming in, they are opening new channels of embedding. Insurance, I think, yes, the insurance industry as such, when they kind of saw that, yes, we have to go on digital as our new distribution channel, putting products on digital was very obvious thing to do, but then very quickly they realized that that's not working. Customers are not coming there. So I think embedding is closing that bit of a gap of rather insurance being upfront in your face. It is something that is more trigger based, more transactional relevant, more micro in nature. So I think it's coming. That is a one common trend, but I do think that it has its place in terms of the smaller gaps or the smaller portions of the needs of the customer, specific needs of the customer. When it comes to more broader needs like life, motor insurance or health insurance, there I think the models are typically more evolving towards omni-channel. So that's one trend that, again, that happened was initially everyone went fully digital. When I said more direct channels came in, aggregators came in, but they don't see those conversions still happening and still people going back to traditional channels. So it's a bit of a conflict. And now where we're seeing is more convergence of omni-channel. Make sure digital and your offline channels are connected in the most seamless way. So you give your customers all the options on touch points. Most likely, of course, you're using digital to introduce or to create engagement. And then it's okay if the customer today is preferring still a phone call or still an agent to close the deal. So I think that's an evolution, and that's where I do think eventually insurers will get better at digital advisory space. But to answer your question, I think, that's embedding and omni-channel are probably for me the two big trends in the digital area that I see in Asia.
Yeah. And I think that omni-channel piece makes sense as well, because I don't think very quickly the agents and the brokers are losing their prominence. And I think you do need them in many complicated products to actually explain the products well to the customers. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. You have to do other things before you can simply and think that it will be all digital. You have to simplify your products. You have to have enough digital advisory tools in a more seamless way for customers. As a customer, I'll have my own life cycle. Can insurance be more personalized to me? So for all this to happen, a lot has to happen around both tech, product development, etc. Till that gap is done, you need it both, and you need them more seamlessly.
Yeah.
Right. So, from your experience in this market, can you talk about the organizational structure and capabilities that are required to succeed in your role? Like some companies import talent, some import and teach internal talent. What's your approach to this whole process?
Look, I think it depends on the model the company or the team adopts. In general, I've seen 4 models. One model is where you'll often see digital innovation labs. Second, you see as creating MGAs. Third, you see is very much an internal digitization. And then the fourth is more of creating an internal digital team, which is a hybrid, which is where I think both at Chubb Zurich is kind of where it's where I have the experience of forming. But if you look across those 4 models, the first 2 where it's about innovation hubs and MGAs, they tend to, of course, focus more external than less internal. And then the latter 2 are, of course, digitization tends to be a lot more internal. And then the fourth one, which is where I've operated, and my own preferred one is as a hybrid one of internal and external. So it depends on the model that the company thinks will work for them or they want to strategically invest in. I do feel that when they're going even for a combination, it depends on the role, which one you want to get external, which one you want as internal. I personally, my view is that roles which have a clear site of dependency, so to say, on the insurance, more legacy systems, it helps to get internal people who have that knowledge, so they can bring that forward and shorten the process. Whereas for everything that needs new ways of thinking, it's always good to get some fresh ideas and minds as well. And even on internal, right, I think it's also around choosing the right people there as well, of people who are more solution oriented. And I think even for external is good to align with people who are aligned with your KPIs, because when companies form these digital units of whatever shape or form, they should and they would have us view around whether, is it to get, I'll not care about profitability for the first 5 years. I want to capture market share, or I just want to create the brand presence, or I don't want to disturb my own brand. I want to create a separate brand altogether. So I have a challenger brand. So it's a lot depends on the strategy. But my own general preference, a mix is always the best of both worlds if you can get that right.
Right. Which is an interesting approach. So I think kind of allied to that question is, CVCs, corporate venture capital, right? Often used in other geographies, US, Europe, by incumbent insurers. And we have seen a recent one being formed in the Middle East as well. So what are your thoughts about incumbents investing in startups and actually even doing a little bit of an acqui hire in terms of talent that you spoke about and importing innovation? So any thoughts on that? Have you seen that work in the past? Actually quite like that model. Now, not because Zurich already has one, but I think in general, I quite like that model. I think Zurich, for sure, we already have something which we have a global joint venture, which actually looks actively into not just new startups, but a bit matured startups as well. I feel that's it's a good complementary strategy to have, because you cannot innovate just on your own, and there's so much happening that it helps first of all to diversify your own reach of innovation. Often, even in the 4 model I just spoke about, if they are too close to the legacy, they will face some other
speed to market issue. By kind of almost separating and only investing it, you can keep them at an arm's length, yet actually get quick insights into what's working, what's not, and they can kind of be your more pilot ground. We have seen that working, like with Zurich, we've got, of course, 2-3 big brands that we have invested into in different verticals in travel, cyber insurance space, and health and wellness space as well. And what that's giving us is that's becoming more our ground of test and learn. It also, I think, from more, I feel it gives also an ability to separate your brand versus the brand of let's say the new startup as well, and sometimes because you may have some very strong customer association with your legacy brand, so a new brand can help either redirect or just help validate some of the new ways of doing. So I think it's an interesting model, definitely, to experiment. And if it works, then you can bring in and scale, because often I think if it works, the advantage is that now you as a bigger insurer can leverage your scale and geographic reach and give them that particular platform in other markets. Yeah. So that's kind of a win-win situation, I feel, which often a startup would otherwise struggle to scale, and whereas an big insurer may struggle to innovate. So they kind of can fill each other's gap in a very in a better win-win way, as I said. Yeah.
No, I mean, as they say in the startup world, it's a competition between when incumbents find innovation or when startups find distribution. But I think this model, yes. You can just give them the chance and take small bets on innovation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Great. Now, switching gears to the whole Web3 and what's happening around that whole world of Web3. I mean, and it's probably now more evident that the whole role of insurance is probably very important given the recent failures we've seen in Terra and Luna. Now, what are your thoughts on what's Zurich's take about whole Web3? And do you see, especially the APAC region, playing a leading role in product innovation or even testing the waters?
Yeah, I think there's interest for sure, but whether it is now and kind of high priority now, do something about it. I doubt as a whole industry, it's that as the biggest priority. I think there's more on just on the digital side in terms of the priority or from a strategy point of view that is taking focus. I think that, as I said, there is interest and there's definitely a view around testing waters. But I feel insurance in general will not lead to Web3's expansion. If Web3 evolves and becomes into more mainstream, insurance will follow. So that's at least my view, that is probably what will happen rather than other way around of insurance kind of taking the front around. No, let us kind of be the forefront of Web3 evolution. I think there's two categories as well within Web3 from insurance perspective. There's one around insuring just the digital assets. Yeah. And something that I remember when I started digital product development, that was probably the second product that we were discussing that let's, insure crypto. It was like 4 years back or so. We were shut down and saying that how do we even underwrite something like this? And we still haven't answered that question. Yes, there are insurers trying to do it, but it's so difficult right now for insurers to get their head around underwriting. It's not because of insurance industry issue. It's just we have seen cases, as you said, right? It's difficult to insure these assets just yet. But I think that's one area of opportunity. The one where I'm more interested and I think will probably has a potential to take faster lead is around using this technology as a capability in the value chain. So it's about, and I think that's where I think we'll probably see more startups or insurtechs coming first in terms of some innovations of use cases. And if we see evolution, then we'll probably collaborate and see how we can go forward from there. So I won't rule it out. What is it? is it the next 12 to 18 months? I doubt that it's here and now. I think, yes, it will take time. Which one of those different capabilities will pick up? Yeah, we'll probably see. But yes, we are very much keeping an eye on where the development is going.
Yeah, no, I think what you said kind of makes sense. Given there is an aspect of privacy and portability of identity involved on the blockchain. That does make some sense in the health space where you can safely transfer information without exposing it to unnecessary third parties.
So its own adoption is a question first, because if you get real consumers in a big scale adopting it, then automatically you'll see the use cases, more and more use cases coming in. Yeah. I think it's still, you see people who are more open on trying things, rather first mover ones, rather than masses really adopting these technology yet. Yeah. There's even people, those who are adopting, they're not even sure what it is, right? So it is. So I think that maturity hasn't come in yet, but I'm sure that I think that's probably a matter of time.
Yeah, I think probably this sort of fall in values of these tokens and pictures of monkeys is going to help us focus on the non-speculative utility value of blockchain, which are tremendous.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just the making money quick scheme. So I expect some good changes to happen over the 18 to 24 months, but then that's just All right. So switching gears, let's just talk about insurtechs in general and multiple approaches that companies adopt, build, buy, partner, and so on. So how has your outlook on partnerships with insurtechs evolved? And are there any active projects that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, sure. I think if I look back 4 or 5 years when started the whole start of, I guess, the insurtech insurance, it was almost like a war between the two. It was not a partnership. I think it's a good evolution now in a more partnership model that we see in the industry. I think on both sides, things have shifted from insurtech's point of view as well. Initially, a lot was around the legacy system sucks. We'll just completely replace it and go from there. And from insurance point of view, there was a lot of resistance on I can't simply just replace everything. I've got my current distribution running on it. My current business is on this, so it doesn't make sense for me to do it. I think with time that has evolved, some egos have dropped as well on both sides. So I think that's there is more collaboration, and also I think they both have now. Even the insurtech solutions have become more modularized, so it's not just about the whole. So insurers can see what resonates with their platform and where their needs are, and they can now collaborate a lot easier than before. So that's definitely the case. And that's same, I think, with us. We work with different insurtechs across the region, depending on, again, very specific use cases of where we see an opportunity, where we know that we may probably be better off. And also, I think there is no. I always look at that. It's interesting in insurance. It's so much about insurance and insurtechs. If you look at the big ones like Apple and Google, who everyone would look at it from a tech point of view, they don't build everything themselves as well. Yeah. They buy a lot of technology. Yeah, they collaborate as well. Yeah. So, and technology is such a wide space. So what's the right model? It's a combination of all. You've got to build something for yourself. You have to collaborate with others. And at some point, you find some technology which can give you long-term competitive advantage, then you sure should buy it if you have the pockets, right? So answer is should be all three. It depends on where you want to operate. But so that's why I think, yes, there will be a lot of consolidation as well on insurtech space because there is a lot of them. So you will end up seeing, which I think in next few months and years, there will be some kind of consolidation happening in that field as well, which will give some more power to some of the insurtechs to give them the scale that's needed for their next phase. So yeah, so we as I said, we are pretty open in terms of our partnership and collaboration across the space.
Right.
Brilliant. Awesome. I think, Roopa, we've come pretty much to the end of the show. It's been fabulous to have a chat with you. Before we end this, is there any message you'd like to send to anyone from the insurance industry, maybe to our region, the Middle East region? It could be a personal one or a business one. Our platform is yours.
Maybe I think it's probably one of the common things. Given I'm in digital space, and I think that's one of the things I always believe in, that technology is an enabler. So you should use it from that. First thing should be, if insurance industry can focus a lot on their own product development to customer needs, I think we'll get a better output of our whole digital evolution and transformation. So I do think that the perspective should be first on identifying and getting the right customer need fixed. Solution will follow next. So that's just a perspective, and I think we've got a lot of work to do as an industry, but I think it's in an exciting space. And hopefully next time you ask someone how you joined insurance, they'll probably, hopefully after a few years, they said that, yeah, I had planned for it.
Absolutely. We hope so. So, Roopa, that's a great kind of message to end on. And thank you very much for being here at FS Brew. And we really enjoyed this.
No, thanks a lot for having me here. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Perfect.
Hello, this is Ranjit Philip. Thank you for listening to FS Brew. If you enjoyed this episode, I'll be grateful if you can subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. This will help us to reach more awesome listeners like you. Thank you.